I think it's quite an accomplishment. Unbelievable to be the same job for 50 years, and she still enjoys coming in every day. So I just think that's a good testament to her and her hard working. I would like to thank everybody for coming out. Tomorrow she will have 50 years as an employee with the county, so we just kind of thought that was a special day. I appreciate y'all coming down. And thank you. That's not. So if there's anything you want to say?
Well, 50 years has been a long time. But times have changed.
Yes,
In the last 50 years. I still say I'd like to go back to the courthouse and retire, but I don't plan to retire anyway soon. Everybody thinks this is going to be my retirement.
Oh,
But
no.
it's not. But it has been a long 50 years. But when I first started in 1967, it was only 3 of us. Let me get back here. It was only 3 of us. And we took turns, and as a matter of fact, I've got the stool in my office now. We took turns sitting on that stool, begging people to come in because we had nothing to do. That's not the true today. It has been an interesting time. Been very interesting.
Was Mr. Charlie Fox there when you started?
When I first started working with Mr. Casey Jones in 1967, and then he retired in 1970, Mr. Fox run and was elected. He served 28 years. So when he started to retire, or had made his comments that he was retiring, the gentleman that was going to run for office, he come to me, and when I was doing business tax, he come to me and said, Miss Elaine, I'm going to run for the office, but I expect you to run it. And I didn't know what to say, you know. So after he left, and I still hadn't said, answered his question, but anyway, Mr. Fox come to me and he said, usually I don't ask you what people ask you, but this time I want to know what he asked you. So I told him, and he said, that ain't going to happen. I said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, you're going to run yourself. I said, but I don't know how. He said, but I'll do it for you. So thumbs up. Everybody had come into the office. Times has changed, and you can't do that now. But back then, he said, this is who I need you to vote for. She's taught me and my wife the ropes, and so it's time for her to. So here I am today. And one of my great supporters there. I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have him. And he and I will celebrate 63 years next month.
Wow. Oh, that's another clap.
Over the 18th, we'll have 63 years. If anybody has a question to ask me, I'll try to answer it.
Well, tell us a funny story about work. Tell us a funny story about working in the courthouse. There was a safe in there or something like that.
Oh yeah, well we had one say, let me tell you something, the sheriff's department would be interested in it. And I used to have to ask him to speak at different things. But anyway, we had this little man, I'm not going to tell you his first name, but he's now deceased. He, I always waited on him. He wasn't letting anybody else wait on him. Well, that particular day, we were busy down on the counter here, and I was usually down here, but he come down here because Charlene Mad asked him if she'd help him. And he didn't have his paperwork right. And he said, well, Elaine down there will take care of me. And she said, you know, I can help you too. And he said, you can't help me. And he reached in his pocket and he pulled out this pistol right here.
Oh.
And he said, you'll do what I tell you, or I'll shoot you. Well, I run down there about as far from there. And I said, Mr. Tolman, you can't do that. If you shoot her, you're going to shoot me first. He said, I'm not going to shoot you. So thank goodness Mr. Fox heard him. Mr. Fox was in his office, and So I reached with him with the gun in his hand, and I said, Mr. Tommy, put your gun down. And Mr. Fox had called, and the sheriff's department was upstairs. And here comes Archie Butcher, and he grabs him like this and says, drop your gun. Well, he did, but that thing was loaded all the way around. The 32 pistol was loaded all the way around. Well, Archie said to Mr. Fox, said, what do you want me to do with him? Mr. Fox said, take him home. And his wife will take care of him. So he did. The next morning at 7:30, of course, Mr. Fox and Mary Lou and we all got there early. And when we parked our car and got out, on the bench in front of the steps there where the bench is now, well, there sat Mr. Tomlin and Miss Tomlin. Remember the day before, though, he was drunk as a skunk. He didn't know where he was at, and that's why he drew that pistol. So. And I said, well, Mr. Tomlin, you out early this morning. And his wife spoke up and said, yes, he come to apologize to you all. Well, God bless his heart, he had on a pair of overalls, and they would start stiff as a board. They would stood up in the corner by themselves. And a beautiful white shirt. And you couldn't afford it here, but it's been starched and ironed. You know, they don't iron now.
He dressed up for you.
She said, I brought him in here to apologize to you all, and I guarantee you that he'll never do this again. So, years passed on by, and I didn't see Mr. Tomlin anymore. But he got in the nursing home over here at Cleveland Hughes. They've just missed my story. He was almost on his deathbed, and he said to one of his daughters, I want to see that girl that saved me from shooting that girl. And she says, Daddy, I don't know what you're talking about. He said it was a little girl that worked at the courthouse, that I went in there drunk, and I was going to shoot that girl. So I go over to Cleveland Hughes, and guess what he wanted me to do? He wanted me to pray with him. So I did. 3 days later, he died. But after I became clerk, well, they would invite me to speak a lot, and they'd say, now that, we don't do that. But I would tell them that story. And they said, I can't believe you didn't do anything when he drew that pistol. I said, well, he said, well, you won't shoot me. If you missed my story.
I heard part of it.
Well, I'd like to say congratulations, Mom, for 50 years. It has been a while. It's been fun. We have enjoyed all the campaigning and continue to enjoy that as well. And we just appreciate everyone coming today to be here.
How you doing, sir? Good to see you.
How are you?
Yes, I did.
There's sports on the other end.
It's you being a good sport.
We got
It is certainly a joy to work with Miss Elaine, as we all affectionately call her. She is certainly, you don't want to call her the godmother, but she's definitely like a grandmother to all of us. She has been a staple with Williamson County government as long as I've worked here, and we won't talk about those years, but she's certainly been around and knows everyone in the county and does everything she can to be a service when folks come in. And so we love her and we cherish her, and we're happy to celebrate her today.
Well, 50 years is a long time. I know you've seen a lot of changes. Love the stories that you tell, and I'm looking forward to your 60th anniversary where we can hear some more stories.
I want to wish her the best in the world. She's such a great person. Known her for years, known her when she was at the historic courthouse. What a great person, what a great public servant. Anybody that serves 50 years is dedicated to the community, and she definitely is. Runs a smooth office, and we all love her very much.
Enjoyed working with you all these years. It's always been a pleasure to work with you and your staff, and look forward to many more years.
Thank you.
I'll echo those comments. It's been a great working with Miss Elaine, and hope to have several more years to work with her.
And here you were sitting there with that calendar the other day going, Friday when I leave here. I'm going, yeah, you're going to be mad Friday when you leave here.
And here they put all this in, it surprised me.
Surprise.
Thank you for coming down.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Miss Elaine.
It's been a long time, but it's been going through.
You've seen the county change a lot.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. A lot of changes.
Been a lot of changes since I first came to the county.
Well, I just want to congratulate Ms. Anderson on 50 years, and that's quite an accomplishment. She leads by example, and hard work is her middle name, and we just look up to her.
You know, I get the honor of talking to someone and introducing someone that everybody already knows, but I was thinking on the way this morning to work. She's got 50 years. And you count all my public services, 31 years. And I'm not going to try to put the math to that, but I can tell you it's been a wonderful journey. And I think of people that when you're in an organization where you're talking about private or public, and of what that person means to the organization. And in government, it's oftentimes elected officials, and there's not many that can get elected all those many years and work in the same organization. But I've never known Mrs. Anderson not to be without integrity and honesty and fair. I've never known her to be anything other than the mother that all of us wish we had. And if you were fortunate to have a good mother, you know what I'm saying, and I had one. But if I could pick a second mother, it would be her, not because of her last name. That would make it a lot easier. But because she is that lady that we all refer to as a lady. And how you were able to trick him into marrying you, I'll never know, and I don't want to know.
I don't know either.
But I will say this. Every organization needs good men and women. And we call those cornerstones to an operation of a building. You build a building, 4 square, you got to have those cornerstones. And you got to have those people that can hold you up through the good times and through the bad and go through them all. And Mrs. Anderson, Mrs. Elaine Anderson, is that person when I think of Williamson County. So on behalf of all of the employees, the elected folks, thank you for what you have meant. I'm telling you, they oftentimes look at the sheriff and the other people, and they don't think about just exactly what you have meant to this community. And a lot of things have changed, but you've been there, and you've been that silent person. And I know you know enough about sports to know you're cleanup.
Thank you.
And I mean that. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Roger. God bless you.
You got to say something.
I don't know what to say.
Well, try. Act like you're barking at him.
No, I don't want to do that. I never have. But first thing, I want to thank everybody for coming out. And that right now, I'm kind of speechless. But this gentleman here, I got to tell you a little bit of story, what happened. And so many friends that I have, like in Brentwood and all around, when he was running for office, the first time I had this little lady, her last name was Miss Forehand. And she calls me up and she says, "This man that's running for mayor, is he your son?" And I said, "No, ma'am, but he's a good person. He also has a real good last name." And she said, I said, "I'd really like to have him for a son, but he's not." She said, "Well, if you think he'll be good, I ain't got anything to do but call all of my church people." This was Concord Road, Church of Christ. She said, "I'm 86 years old. I can't do anything other than stay on the phone." So I told Roger, I said, "Well, you call everybody you know, because he is a good person." So I come back and I tell Rogers, I said, "Rogers, just watch that poll." And guess what? Rogers overwhelming carried that poll because I recommended him.
And I have never forgotten that.
So we've worked, all the elected officials now have worked together. I don't know a single one of them that everybody's worked together. That don't always happen, but I do appreciate them all coming. There's some more down there that's come. Debbie, thank you. But if you haven't had anything to eat, come on in. My family here surprised me. I didn't think anybody could, but they did. But thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger. There's been a lot of changes in 50 years, but there's been a great experience. I've seen so many changes, especially started out at the courthouse, and then we ended up out here. But I love people, and I love to help people. But and I've worked with some great people, and a lot of them have passed on with good people that I'm really going to miss. But it has been an enjoyable 50 years.
That's posing, family photo time. Looking good.